Hello, welcome to Experiments in Poetry. This is your host, Wendy. We are continuing our Gothic spooky Halloween theme, and as such, no poet is more famous in the genre of the Gothic and macabre than Edgar Allan Poe. In episode 17, we'll be discussing the last poem that Edgar Allan Poe wrote. Edgar Allan Poe was born in the early 1800s, and he was central to the United States Romanticism movement in the early 1800s. Poe wrote poetry as well as short stories, and he was one of the more famous authors that embraced the newly emerging genre of short story writing. He is also credited with starting writing detective crime novels slash stories. So that whole genre of crime, criminal suspense, detective who done it type of mysteries and solving crimes was contributed to Edgar Allan Poe. He also did some contribution to the newly emerging genre of science fiction writing. But his most famous works by far are his poems, The Raven and Annabel Lee, based upon the premature death of a young lover. Edgar Allan Poe's young wife, Virginia Eliza Clem, died at the age of 25 and was thought to be the inspiration behind his poems Raven and this poem that we'll be discussing today, Annabel Lee. Edgar Allan Poe was quoted as saying, "What could be more poetic than the topic of the death of a young, beautiful woman?" All the passion, the love and loss, and of course, the finality of it all. And in his famous poem, The Raven, he talks about how it is final, the separation. However, in the poem Annabel Lee, which we will discuss today, the narrator very much feels that he is forever intertwined in life and in death with his lover. In general, the theme of the poem is there is a young, idealized, particularly strong love, perhaps because it is a first love, first attraction type of scenario. And these two people are in love with each other and they are very, very happy, but such happiness does not belong, according to the narrator, on this earthly plane. So the angels in heaven got jealous and took his lover away from him, and that's how he rationalizes the loss of his love. So for the style of the poetry, it is rhymed and metered, but it's very, very complicated rhyme scheme. He is more concerned with the sound, and sometimes, he can go from lines that are stressed, unstressed to unstressed, unstressed, stressed. So he flips the lines, he flips the flows. And it gives an overall very distinctive sound to his work. So I'm not really going to say, oh, it's written in iambic pentameter or something like that. It's a very precise mixture in order to get the effect that he wants. And I will try to point out in some areas what he is doing. So let's start reading the poem. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. So a little bit about this first verse and its structure. So he has 6 lines to the first verse, and it is a rhyming structure It follows, so an end rhyme structure where it follows an A, B, C, D pattern. And the interesting thing about the way his work flows is the first line, "It was many and many a year ago." That line is written in an anapestic meter, and it's which is a trimeter of unstressed, unstressed, stressed syllable, which gives a very kind of relaxed feel to it. However, the second line, which is shorter, "In a kingdom by the sea," is written in a um in a dyad, which is two syllables, in a trochaic meter, and that is a stressed, unstressed, in a kingdom by the. So when you have that first line rolling off in one way, then the second line comes off and flips the stressed and unstressed. It sets it off so that "in a kingdom by the sea," line that is repeated a few times throughout the poem. So in a way, to me, when he writes and he is purposely changing the meter to that great of is the meter that drastically, it really sets off the line and makes it stand out even that much more with a sense of urgency. And like I said, it just makes it stand out. "In a kingdom by the sea." This is the rhythm, because that's what meter is. It's kind of just the rhythm, the natural cadence in which English is spoken. English is a very rhythmic language. It was many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. So by the name of Annabel Lee. So the next two sentences, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee, have that exact same structure as the top two sentences. It's a tetrameter using an anapest on the first line and then switching to a trochaic measure in the second line, which is really setting off that there is this lovely lady by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. So of the three B's in there, you can also see that "in a kingdom by the sea," by the name of Annabel Lee, and then "to love and be loved by me." That last line is different than all the other ones that rhyme in B. The first two B's in the rhyme scheme have that duo in the trochaic meter, but that last line, "then to love and be loved by me," it is written in a completely different meter, which I would call an amphiproc, which is another tetrameter, and it's an unstressed, unstressed, then to love and be loved by me. So again, when he changes the meter in the rhyme scheme of B, it's really setting off the theme of love in that final line, because there's just something different about it and the way that it flows from your mouth, that it just, in a native English speaker's mind, sets it off that there is something different about this sentence, kind of like masterful, just in the way that your mind will pick up that something has changed and is different about these lines. So let's move on to the next verse. "I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee." with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her highborn kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in a kingdom by the sea. So you can see that that rhyme scheme of B that just stood out in that first stanza has carried on into the second and third stanza. He keeps with that long E sound. In a kingdom by the sea, I and my Annabel Lee coveted her and me. Again, he is using a trochaic meter there, and I believe it's just setting up some urgency and setting that separate from the other lines that surround it. And what you can see here is that there's something special about Annabel Lee, A Kingdom by the Sea. You know, he talks about the angels in heaven. Well, heaven is considered a kingdom. Where God rules. And so, but he and his lover, Annabel Lee, had their own kingdom by the sea, where they felt so much love and happiness that the inhabitants of heaven, the winged seraphs of heaven, were jealous of the love and the happiness of he and his beautiful Annabel Lee. And so he says is what all men know is that it was this jealousy that caused a cloud to come and blow a chill on his beautiful Annabel Lee. So that cloud and chill kind of indicates to me that his lover died of some sort of infectious disease, a chill. I'm thinking like a pneumonia or something like this. And this can be why many believe this was written about his wife. Of course, because it was written in the year or two following her death, but also she was 25 when she died, and she died of tuberculosis, which is a disease of the lungs where one would have difficult breathing in the end. So I feel like it very much falls in line that this poem could possibly be him coping with the death of his beautiful young wife and trying to rationalize and try. Sorry, this is very, the sun is in my face. And trying to form some sort of rationale as to why such a travesty could befallen him. The angels not half so happy in heaven when envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of a cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. So again, this just confirms pretty much what we saw in the stanza above, which is that it was some sort of in some of the stanzas up above, that it was some sort of jealousy from the inhabitants of heaven, that maybe there shouldn't be such happiness on earth, and they decided to claim Annabel Lee for themselves because such a creature that can bring such happiness and joy belongs up in heaven. And that is how Poe comes to terms with the loss of his beautiful young wife. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. This stanza basically is mean is, yes, we might have not had a lot. We might have been young. We might not have been wizened yet because of our youth, but we knew love. And isn't that all that matters, is that one can know love in their lifetime? So yeah, many were stronger and still alive, and perhaps there were others who were wiser and older, but none of that matters, because at least in their lifetime they experienced love. And he is saying, not an angel nor a demon can tear us apart. So even though her body is no longer with him, he still feels her soul and his soul are connected forever. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, although tired, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. So here he is saying, basically, when he looks at the moon, when he is sleeping at night underneath the moon, he dreams still of her all through the night. It brings him sweet dreams of his Annabel Lee. So that's one way he knows that they are still bound together. The stars rising are like her bright eyes looking down upon him. And he is always reminded, whenever there is moon or starlight, of his beautiful Annabel Lee. He talks about, there is reference to his kingdom by the sea. In reference to his kingdom by the sea, you can see here that he, all the night tide, I lie down by your side. So tide is something that the seas have, and he will lie by it all night long by thinking about his darling bride. And this final verse makes several references to his kingdom by the sea, which, of course, as I mentioned earlier, is the place where him and his beautiful Annabel Lee had heaven here on earth. And it was their private heaven, which I feel like he's calling his kingdom by the sea. He makes a reference to all the night tide, so all night long. He will be there by the side of his wife, and she, of course, was buried in a sepulcher by the sea. So he is always reminded of his beautiful Annabel Lee whenever he sees the moon, the stars, or hears the sounding of the sea. He not only loves her, but he will be forever connected with her and will forever remember their kingdom by the sea. If you haven't already, please go ahead and listen to the uninterrupted lyric video that I had made for the poem Annabel Lee. I will link it in the description below. Please, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interpretation of Annabel Lee, and to continue and original poems, please subscribe to the channel. And if you this poem, give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can reach me at wendy@experimentsinpoetry.com if you have any poems or song lyrics that if you have, this is an open channel, so if you have any song lyrics or poems that you would like me to review, please let me know by giving me a comment below, or as always, you can reach me at wendy@experimentsinpoetry.com.